Today, I want to talk to you guys about how to pass on generational wealth. Over the past couple of months, I've been teaching you guys how to build generational wealth. And then, success without a successor is ultimately failure. So you should be able to pass on your wealth to your generations. And so this video is about how to pass on generational wealth to your generations. Now you see, too many people have wealth stored up in banks, and not just in banks, in the stock market, in real estate, and a lot of times it's unknown to their children and to their heirs and to their next of kin. Maybe their wives, and too often it happens in third world countries. And at the end of the day, when they die, all of their earnings, all of their riches, all of their wealth is lost. And then it ends up being, like just dissipated. And you don't want that to happen to you. So you see, in those kind of situations, like when you have huge bank deposits and then you die, or maybe like you have stocks and then you die and you don't tell your heirs, you don't tell your next of kin, you don't tell your privies. I mean, I'll give you a very good example. In Nigeria, for instance, this is just one country. There are $500 million worth of unclaimed dividends. $500 million worth of unclaimed dividends. Now, the money is just dormant. And then you also have, like in Nigeria, one country, 895 billion naira that are dormant in bank accounts. 895 billion naira. Now that's equivalent, if you're going to use the official exchange rate of Nigeria, to 3 billion US dollars. Now bear in mind that this is a country with GDP of about $500 billion. So this is almost 5%, almost 10% of our GDP sitting just idly. And then there are also unclaimed title deeds, like title deeds to houses, like, land, to malls, things like that. And, the total amount of that is in the trillions, and it's a global phenomenon. It's not just a phenomenon in third world countries. It happens in Ghana, Tanzania, also happens in Europe. So it happens all over the world, all over the world. And there's a difference which I'm going to explain very soon. You see, the only difference is that in underdeveloped countries, when these things happen, mostly the money is lost for good. Maybe like corrupt bank officials can connive and they get the money, or the money is forfeited to the state. Meanwhile, like in the Western democracies like Europe and America, they've got like institutions, and they've got, even in the private sector, people who trace the heirs of unclaimed monies in banks, stocks and all that. They have people, as far back as the World War. Like some of the people who died in the World War, they're still looking for their heirs to claim their monies. But in most third world countries, in fact, I would say all of them, because I've done my studies, but let me go with most, these mechanisms are not there. So if at the end of the day, like the heirs and the successors of these people are not aware of their monies, the money just dissipates. So you see, it's an anomaly that we have to address. And if you don't address this, what's going to happen is that a lot of generational wealth. Just look at the figures I called: $500 million in unclaimed dividends, $3 billion in almost $3 billion in dormant accounts, and this figure is growing. It's growing and it's growing. It's not that's in one country, Nigeria, and then think about what happens in other countries. Now you have to ask yourself, why do people do this? Why do people do this? Now, the simple reason is that they do this because they do not trust their heirs or their potential heirs and their next of kin and their successors. They do this because they don't have confidence in them. So maybe they think that, they are afraid that if they know about this, the wealth that they've stored up, they might kill them, or, they might kill them prematurely, or, like any number of reasons. But that's the main reason. So it's a lot of times has to do with fear. Now, there is a solution. There's a solution. Now, if you're watching this video and you're in that category, there is a solution. Write a will. Write a will. Now, it's very easy to do. You can learn how to write a will on the internet nowadays. It's so easy. You can do it yourself. You don't need to hire a lawyer. And like I told you before, there are guides. There are guides to writing wills on the internet. Now, in most countries, All you need to do to write a will is just, put your thoughts, in paper. These are my assets. These are who it should go to. Have one or two witnesses. In some countries, it's one witness. In other countries, it's two witnesses, and then you register it in court, which is so easy. You swear to an affidavit, you register it in court. It is easy peasy Japanesey. It's something that you should do. And then when this is done, you give it to a lawyer or maybe a pastor or like somebody who is a reliable non-beneficiary, or even a relative, so you give it to them, and then your instructions are, please, can you give this to my children or my heirs when I die? And that way, all your generational, wealth is not lost. I mean, isn't that much better than strangers, strangers just enjoying what you've worked for all your life, or maybe even the state, the central government, benefiting from it, just like, your money is forfeited to them. That's what happens in most cases. And think about this. Now, even if you suspect or you are sure that your heirs, your successors, your next of kin are going to waste your money, let me ask you a question. Is it not better for them to waste your money when you are no more than for the money to go to the state? I mean, look at the corrupt politicians that you have in states all over the world. Not just in third world countries, all over the world. It's better for your own children, your heirs, your privies, your successors, to enjoy the fruits of your labor. To enjoy the fruits of your labor. So don't just be like one of these hundreds of thousands of people who are in this category where they die and then all their generational wealth is lost. And let me tell you, death is not by age. You don't say, okay, I look healthy, I'm not going to write my will. Wills are for old people. Anybody can die anytime. Tomorrow is promised to no one. It's promised to no one. So do the right thing by your family and do it now. Do it right away. And you know what? Get life insurance. Get life insurance. You see, you cannot claim to love your spouse and your children and you do not have life insurance. No. So get life insurance. It's so important. That's not love. If you're living and you have the means, and almost everybody has the means. How much is life insurance? Life insurance is not very expensive. Look, I'm going to tell you this. The greatest transfer of wealth in the United States and Europe is not via real estate or stocks or investment. It's via life insurance. It's via life insurance. I'm aware of that. I've done my studies. I've done my research. It's via life insurance. Now, when an average white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, that's WASP, they call it WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, when an average white Anglo-Saxon Protestant baby is born, from the very second that baby is coming out of his or her mother, he is already or she is already likely to be a beneficiary of 6 life insurance policies. 6. One from each parent, that's one from the mother, one from the dad, and then one from each of the 4 grandparents. So one from the father's mother, one from the father's father, one from the mother's father, one from the mother's mother. So as a result of this, these policies, poverty is forever banished. Poverty is forever banished from that child's life, from the moment of birth up to the moment of death. Poverty is, there's nothing like poverty in that child's life. You see, and that's why, you hardly see, people mourning and wailing and weeping and throwing themselves on the floor when white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, they die and they're having their funerals. You see, instead, what you see most times, or a lot of times, I would say most times, is that you see what they call a dignified mourning. You see what they call a quiet, dignified mourning. Just, quiet, dignified mourning. There's no wailing, there's no weeping, there's no gnashing of teeth. You see, it's not because they are sad. They are sad. But they know that death is also a source of wealth for them. So because one generation dies, life insurance benefits are kicking in and they are going to be paid to the next generation. So what they are doing is that they are gathering together to quietly and dignify the memory of that relation or relative who's died and left money to them. But in the third world country, it is often the reverse. It's often the reverse. When your parents or your grandparents die, it is a source of poverty. It's a source of generational poverty because they've left nothing for you. They don't have a life insurance policy. And then you are expected to cough up money that you do not have to give them a befitting funeral. And if you don't do this, the community will look down on you. You are going to be stigmatized. So these are people that did not leave any generational wealth for you. They did not leave any life insurance policy for you. They didn't leave any tangible thing for you. But at the end of the day, you have to bury them, in a grand manner. Like in a lot of third world countries, people actually spend more money on burials than they do on their education, on their health, and on their weddings. In Africa, for instance, the greatest expense that a man will bear in his lifetime is a burial. And that's very sad. So you see, rather than being a source of wealth, in the third world, death becomes a source of greater poverty. And that's why you see a lot of people, weeping, wailing, gnashing their teeth. Often, they are just thinking about, how am I going to pay up all this money I borrowed? And then other people go, who's going to look after me? This man used to pay my rent. This man, there's a lot of things. So we have to change our mentality. Now, the thing is, even if your parents and your grandparents did not do it for you, okay, that's all right. Maybe they were not sufficiently aware. Maybe they were illiterate. That's okay. They've gone. We can't dwell on the past. You do it for your children. Do it for your children. Break that cycle of poverty in your generation. My name is Ronald Mokri, and I hope that this message has ministered to you. God bless you. Thank you for watching.